Welcome to the Divine Soul Journey Evolved podcast, your space for all things awakening, healing, and consciousness shifting. I'm Stephanie Jameson, psychic medium, author, spiritual, and heart-based business mentor, here to help guide you through the incredible, sometimes wild, yet always transformative journey of spiritual evolution. Together, we'll dive deep into thought-provoking conversations, perspective-shifting insights, heart-awakening moments, and reflect on conscious relationship growth. This podcast is designed to be a safe space for awakening and evolving souls, a place to inspire, motivate, encourage, and let's be real, at times may even trigger you into the next version of who it is that you're being invited to become. If you're feeling the call to step into your highest self and embrace the magic of some serious transformation, you're in the right place. Because soul growth and evolution is meant to be beautiful, empowering, and yes, despite how it may feel at times, even fun. So take a deep breath, set the intention to open your heart, and let's dive in. Hi, Lisa.
Hello, Miss Stephanie.
Thank you so much for joining us on Divine Soul Journey Evolved today. I'm so excited to talk to you.
I am thrilled to be here, honored, and there's nowhere else I would rather be right here, right now than with you and getting to speak to this incredible community you've created. So thank you for having me.
Oh, yeah, definitely. We are going to be talking about unshakable confidence and our return to confidence as we rise towards something all new and we, as you say it, level up and face a new devil or new level, new devil, which I absolutely love. We're going to get into that in a moment. But I just kind of wanted to talk to you really quickly before all of that around who you are, what led you to where you are today. I mean, you have like this whole vibe about you. You know, you originally started in the beauty industry and now you're energy management and confidence coach. And so I'm going to let you kind of take the floor here, who you are and what kind of led you to where you are today.
Okay, great. Yes, thank you. And it has been quite a divine soul journey, actually. And I did start with skin. And I say that I am an OG self-care queen, lifestyle queen, because it has been a whole part since I was a very little girl. I've always been attracted to beauty and wellness. And I mean, even at 18, 19, and 20, I had a personal trainer and nutritionist, which was not the mainstay back then that it is today. That's over 30 years ago. I'm dating myself. But it has always been a part of me to take really good care of myself inside and out. The soul that I came into knew that that was an important part of the journey that I was stepping into to lead others down this path. So I started with skin, but it really, when you're working with someone's skin, you learn so much about the being. So I would see what was going on with health. I would see emotions, stress, trauma. There's so much information, and it's such a sacred relationship as well. Think about it when you're getting a facial, and even if you listening, if you've ever had a facial, your head is right at the heart chakra. So your crown chakra is basically at the heart chakra of the esthetician or, beauty pro, right? And so there's
Mhm.
this really deep, intimate, sacred healing that is transpiring. And so that led me on a spiritual journey. It cracked the door wide open for me to delve into nutrition, spirituality, and my nature is a forever student and teacher. So I couldn't help but just constantly get all the information to serve.
Mm.
So, and then you ask about confidence and empowerment. How did that come in? Well, because I've been working with women for nearly 30 years, what you're really doing when you're helping women to feel and look beautiful is
Mhm.
you're teaching them how to love themselves, how to care for themselves. You're teaching them how to build that confidence muscle, you know,
Yes.
so and empowering them. So it has been my whole life, and I would see so many women, powerful, beautiful, smart, kind, strong women that did not know their worth,
Mm.
that had been deviated away from all of who they really were, their true essence. And so that was where I would kind of swoop in and lead them. So my facials were never just a facial. It was always deep spiritual teachings, Reiki, breath work, all of the things I could possibly provide. And there's nothing I love more than to help empower women, because when women are empowered, what do? We empower women and children and men and boys. We empower,
Mhm.
women empower people.
Mhm. So it sounds like you're a little bit of a different path there, but last year I did a retreat, a one day event over in Newport, and it was my beauty from within. And I really, really dug that because there's so many women who I meet and men, honestly, on the path who they have um, forgotten how to put themselves first, and they're going through a heart awakening experience, or they were shamed into not, putting themselves first and putting themselves on the back burner. And if they put themselves first, then they were shamed of, oh, she's so into herself. Oh, he's so into himself. When in all reality, I know that on my path, and this has been a big lesson for myself included, is putting myself first, my self care, energy, my skincare, putting energy and money and time into feeling good and looking good and not feeling weird over it has been an amazing confidence booster for me. Amazing. And that's something that as I was growing up and just, I think society in general, and we'll get into that in a moment because I have a couple questions for you around that. A lot of times women are shamed for falling in love with themselves, and that's a big part of the spiritual path that we have to stop shaming all over ourselves when it comes to, getting confident, especially those of us on the path, teachers, coaches, healers, getting confident on camera, or doing events or teaching, or, of course you want to look and feel your best. And if you're not, how can we kind of flip the script on that and find ourselves again? And that's really what I want to talk to you about today. So I love all of that. Beauty comes from within first.
100%. That's what I teach. Beauty is a frequency, right? And it's an
Mhm.
inside job. So it really is about how you feel, because when you do feel, when you love yourself, when you are able to truly love yourself, you will care for yourself like the person you love the most, because it should be you. And it
Yes.
is it is really unfortunate that, like you said, we shame, and it's almost like you can't win if you're going to be whatever you're going to be doing in the spotlight, especially if you have a unique journey. If you are a divine soul on a very spiritual journey and you're not taking the normal route, there's even a lot of shaming in spiritual communities. And I know things are shifting, but sometimes there's been a theme of, well, you can't be spiritual and have bling and be made up and, care for yourself that way. Like you have to look
Hmm.
more granola. And I know that's a little bit older and it's shifting, but it's still there. And there still is that thread of judgment of any opportunity that people can judge. And that
Hmm.
is really, um, it starts very young, this judgment piece and the blaming and shaming, because I can even tell you when my daughter was like, 7 or 8, I remember her saying something about like, they're don't brag, like they're already talking about not bragging. And I'm thinking, girl, brag.
Okay, so I love that we're talking about this. This is a little off of what I had scheduled for us to talk about, but I love this because that's a little bit of my story. I was brought up around a very patriarchal, very masculine, was not allowed to wear makeup until I was 16 years old, very much pushed to live from my head and not my heart. And so, um, amongst many other experiences, a little bit of my trauma was suppressing my femininity. And I feel like I meet so many women on this path, especially those who are awakening and understanding that they themselves have gifts. Maybe there's some mother wounding or some feminine wounding there. And, they're just learning how to love themselves in every aspect. And they don't want to be, considered arrogant or cocky. And one of the things that I even put up on social media like a year ago is I was like, maybe let's reframe the narrative here. Maybe she's not into herself. Maybe she's really learning how to love herself for the first time in her entire life, and that's what it is. So before you go and you judge her based on the fact that she posted a freaking selfie, maybe it's the first time she's ever been able to feel confident enough on camera to go, wow, not only am I loving myself here in my new mindset or my new frequency, but I'm actually owning whatever I'm growing through right now. And I'm liking the way that I'm looking in this lighting, or I'm liking the way that I'm looking because I'm learning how to love myself on every level, right? And
Right.
I just see so much judgment for that. And I see women come to me in particular who they've either gotten out of a toxic relationship where, you know, they wanted to get facials, but they were shamed into or out of facials, or eyelash extensions, or getting their lips done, or taking care of themselves in whatever capacity they felt comfortable in doing. And then they get out of those situations, and it's like they blossom, they
Right.
bloom, and all of a sudden they see themselves in a different light because they started taking care of themselves again, or they started taking care of themselves for the first time ever.
Yes. And I love that you brought that to the awareness on social because it is something that needs to be talked about. And it kind of comes from the mindset also, I think, of there's not enough to go around, or like if someone else is shining, that means that I can't. Or what,
Right.
there's this mentality almost that, or who does she think she is? Like, yeah, there's a permission in the inside of thinking that person really wants to be doing it. So it's like, if you're listening and you have had those experiences, maybe you had seen someone and thought, well, who the hell is she to do that? You know? And who the
Mhm.
hell is she not to? I mean, going back to that quote that Marianne Williamson said, we're all meant to shine like children do,
Mhm.
basically. It is our birthright. And when we can uh, lift each other up, we all shine together. There's no there's no competition here. Like we're all
Well,
really in this together. Yeah.
and that's something that I feel like us women in particular, that's bred into us from the time we're little girls. It's the competition, it's jealousy, it's insecurity, it's feelings of unworthiness. And we'll get into all of that here in just a moment. But, I learned really early on to dim to fit in, very early on to dim to fit in. And so to come out and shine and to own my beauty energetically, physically, to even admit that, there were aspects about myself that I do love was a journey for me,
Yeah.
was quite the journey without having to carry the shame wound with it. Right. So
Yes.
I learned very early on that, if I was triggered or I felt jealous or whatever, it was just a masked admiration for a part of me that I wanted to express and hadn't learned how to embody yet.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It's really an invitation. It's like,
It
hey, guess
is.
what? You too get to do this too. You can shine this bright too. So I love that
Mm-hmm.
you brought that in because that is what that feeling of jealousy is. Thank you for bringing that circle back, completing that
Mm-hmm.
circle and that loop.
Yeah. Yeah. So that leads me to a couple things I wanted to talk to you about here. Knowing who you truly are in the face of darkness as we are rising and being guided to move towards a higher sense of purpose, that often comes with tower moments, pivots, oh, holy hell moments, identity releases, consciousness shifts, shadow work, all of this stuff that happens and everything's changing and we have to face some serious wounding or trauma releasing. And it's like, I know on my own journey, I had to really rewire my brain when I was going through my initial awakening. And as I've leveled up on my journey, multiple times, who I truly am before society taught me who it is that I'm supposed to be. And that's something that I know that you talk about and you teach. And that is a deep process. And so I'm just kind of curious your feels, your thoughts, all of that on that subject.
Yes, I think we are trained away from who we really are because we are so powerful. It is part of the agenda. All of us, men and women, we talk about the toxic masculinity a lot, but it's also there's a toxic femininity. There's just toxicity that we have been raised
Mhm.
with. We have been trained away from who we really are and controlled and manipulated and dimmed down in general, all of us, right? And so the invitation when somebody has a divine soul journey or they're led through the spiritual process that this is their path, they have a different path, it often does take you to these cracking moments to and there's many tower moments, as you said. I can't even tell you the number I've had, because we are dying and being reborn all the time to rise into who we really are. And in every crisis, there is a blessing. And so part of the invitation and path that I teach and lead is to comb each of these opportunities, these crises, these, obstacles as opportunities, so that you're constantly digging for gold. What are my gifts? What are my lessons? Not bypassing, but like knowing simultaneously, while there is complete devastation, because Lord knows I know complete devastation. And in
Mhm.
fact, if you are somebody who has a deep, deep thread to serve at the highest level, you will go through hell and back, because you gain a level of compassion that you can't just talk about. I'm getting chills as I'm speaking. You gain a
Preach.
level.
I know. I'm like, I get tears in my eyes. It's so true.
You
Hmm.
gain a level of compassion and understanding to be able to look at somebody and say, I get it. I got you. You've got this.
Hmm.
So it
Yeah.
is constant death and rebirth. And you have an opportunity to lean on source, to come back to the creator, to God. Whatever name you use is all the same thing. And it is
Mhm.
us. We
Right.
are source. We are the creator. We're made in the image of the I am. The great I am is within. And that is one of my sacred secrets, one of my pillars in
Hmm.
teachings on coming back to a return to confidence, to gain unshakable confidence, is to
Yes.
know thyself. And how do we know thyself? We don't grow during these do moments where everything is going our way.
Right. Right. We grow when we are on the bathroom floor, sobbing, looking like hell, going through massive heartbreak. All of our thoughts are being challenged in every possible way. People who we loved are, the ones who hurt us the most, or, whatever the lessons are, the karma is the triggering that's occurring. And to lean into what you were saying there is, when you can do that for yourself, when you can offer yourself serious grace, compassion, self love, which, activating that Christ within and really understanding that you are a child of God, you are a child of the universe, and you had a purpose before anybody had an opinion.
Ooh.
That right there is something that no one can ever take from you, but you have to go through some of the darkest moments. So I'm curious, I'll share a little bit of my journey in just a moment, but how did you figure out who you really were when you were facing some of the serious darkness on your path that you faced to get you through and where you are today? How did you do it?
Yeah, thank you. A lot of times we get separated as we're getting elevated.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
like you'll hear God separates you, or source. I don't want to offend anyone, or exclude anyone. So when I say God, it's whatever you want it to be. We get separated so that we can sit without social media, without the distractions, that we can really sit and feel and follow the emotions, because that is energy in motion, right? And so when we can learn to be with ourselves, to be with our emotions, to journaling is a huge practice of mine, of course, meditating. Like I
Mhm.
have the Sacred Beauty Lifestyle, my
Mhm.
podcast that you've been on. And
Mhm.
that's what I have been teaching forever, is it's a lifestyle of all the things that we need to do to live that life of purpose, to be in the moment, to listen. There's a great listening that occurs. And when you have your heart broken and you're cracked wide open, that's that opportunity. And so I took every opportunity and combed it through. I hired all the coaches, I got all the therapy, I sat with myself. I don't know what I haven't done. I mean,
Mhm.
ayahuasca, and I'm, and medicine, plant medicine has its purpose. And I also
Mhm.
think it's completely abused today. Like I did that once. I did San
Mhm.
Pedro once.
Mhm.
I sat up in teepee in the Native American community once with peyote, so because that can be a very powerful fast transformation, but I'm just saying that it can be abused, and you have to be with really sacred, with people who can hold sacred spaces, with people that are really elevated. Because I will tell you that hiring all of these different coaches that I hired and all of these different things, I kept seeing discord and people being out of alignment and not in integrity with their word, or
Mhm.
not being who they were claimed to be. I saw that time and
Mhm.
time and time again. And one of the most
Mhm.
important things to me, is just who I came in as: integrity and truth, and do what you say what you do, and transparency. And we better get there. For those of you listening who might not quite be there yet, we are all coming to a place in time right now where telepathy, our first language, is coming back online. So, we've been talking about transparency for years, and intuition, right, is coming back, where we're all talking about these things. And it's so important that we uh, are transparent, because people will know. I say that I'm attuned to the frequency of truth. I can discern a truth when I hear it. I know when someone's not being honest.
So
And yeah.
let me stop you there just for a moment to kind of circle back to knowing who you are in that
Yeah,
truth of
sorry.
darkness. No. All very valid points. But for me, and I don't know how your experience was
Yeah.
I had to learn how to discern my truth from other people's projections and other people's trauma and other people's experiences or narratives that were run in their heads. So when I was going through, my initial awakening, and as I've gone through other level ups, I've had to learn how to let go of the identity and the narrative that other people have for me. And that's been a big one for me. And so I had to reprogram my mind, and really allow myself the opportunity to go, I'm a child of God. I'm a child of the universe. And just like any other child, I have the ability to create miracles in my life. I have the ability to choose love over fear. I have the ability because I've inherited that from my father. I've inherited that from God, from source energy, from the universe. I am a child of the universe. And that changed everything for me. I was no longer so and so's daughter, so and so's so and so, this and that. I let go of all of that label and all of those identities. And I allowed myself the opportunity to go, that's who I truly am. Now I'm going to lean into the shadow work and become a vibrational match for my higher self and align with my higher self. And that was not easy. That did take separation for sure. I spent a lot of time alone. And when I level up, I often retreat. But I'm just kind of curious if you kind of felt something and experienced something similar.
That's what I was getting to, and you just kind of pulled it all together and summed it up perfectly. I had the same exact experience. It was projections. A lot of times I will say that this is why it's so important for those of you listening, if you have trauma in particular, to heal your trauma, to do the deep shadow work. We can't be light workers without doing the shadow work, because when we don't heal that, we project it on other people. What we
Mm-hmm.
don't transmute, we transmit. And I have found, this was like kind of what I was getting to. I have found time and time again that people were dumping their trauma on me. I would be like, this is going on, and share the depths of hell I was walking through. And then they would be like, this is too heavy to hold. You should take this too. Right. And so, yeah, so I was forced, so to speak, to learn to lean on God, because I grew up Catholic and I couldn't even say the word God for so long. I have never been closer to God, to source, to creator than I am now. I learned how to pray. I became a prayer warrior, and
Amen.
I get compliments all the
Amen.
time on my prayers. I was like, I didn't even know I could do that before.
And there's this really weird disconnect I've noticed, not with everybody, but on the path where, people go, oh, well, that's religion. No, babe, that's spirituality. I have never felt closer to God in my life. Never. And it's funny because I've always been the questioner. When I grew up, I was the questioner. I didn't understand why we did certain things certain ways. And that was, all fear based. Now I understand I had to experience that to teach the opposite of. But that's something that I've really gone through. In fact, it's funny because as I was growing through my own unshakable confidence, the version of who I am today is definitely not the girl 7, 8 years ago, not at all. I came out to somebody who I loved very much. And I said, this is what I'm growing through. I'm a psychic medium. I've had these gifts since I was a kid. I've gone through this rebirth and I'm really starting to understand my purpose. And unfortunately, this individual went into total fear mode and kind of projected their own wounding and gave me every reason in the world as to why a spiritual awakening was evil. And it was really, really hard for me because at the time I was a people pleaser. And so I was very nervous around what everyone was going to think. But I knew that I was born with these gifts and that I was here for something bigger than I could even understand at the time. And the more I leaned into that and understood yet again that I was a child of the universe, that I was a child of God, that slowly started to go away. That fear went away. And some of those same people, a couple years later down the road, were like, whoa, and they experienced their own awakening and their own consciousness shifts around it. So you have to trust in what you know, what you feel.
100% that it's a journey of trust. Those are like trusting and honoring thyself are another two other pillars. But what you just shared is huge. And I had the same experience. And really knowing who you are in the face of darkness, we get the opportunity when we're cracked wide open. And when we can lean on God, we know that the great I am is inside of us, the whole universe is inside of us, the energy that creates worlds is inside of us. Like, how could you not be confident in who you are when you know what you have running through your veins?
Trauma. That's how. Trauma.
Exactly.
Other people's
Exactly.
narratives.
Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
I want to say something you said just a second ago, right? But when we really come to know thyself, then of
Mm-hmm.
course that's the return to journey. But yes, it's the trauma, but you know what it is even more than that often. And that when I heard you say something, I felt this psychically, and I've had this experience of spiritual warfare. Like you were coming to your awakening, right? In the awakened series we're in here right now, in the time of the great awakening, here you were having your awakening, and you're sharing this. And I can't help but wonder if that person had nefarious forces working through them that wanted to squash that. It just makes me think because anybody could be a portal for light, and anybody as a human could be a portal for the darkness.
Absolutely.
But
Absolutely. And that was my path to discernment, right? So we'll just leave that at that because we're running out of time. But that beautiful point, that led me to activating my own the Christ within, understanding that I was the divine feminine and the divine masculine myself, and
yeah.
really having that heart awakening experience and really owning that I needed to reprogram and not allow my head to talk me out of the wisdom of my heart, and know that my heart was the sacred feminine and my mind was the sacred masculine, and they needed to learn how to work together.
And
So that really activated that consciousness shift for me. I'm sure you went through something very similar. Before we kind of end things out here, there's so much I feel like we could talk about, but I wanted to talk to you about the imprints that are placed on us by society, like the conditioning when it comes to who we're supposed to be as women, and how we can begin to take steps towards breaking down the barriers. Like with the last few moments we have here, anyone who's listening, who is facing some of this stuff, knowing who they truly are, maybe leveling up and leaning into something new, activating that Christ consciousness from within. They're going through a death and a rebirth, needing to really learn how to evolve. What kind of steps can they start to take when it comes to letting go of what they've been conditioned, good girl conditioning, what the church has maybe pushed on them, what their family narratives have pushed on, when it comes to what they should be? How do they start to let go of that?
okay, so I do think that trusting when you feel a discord, when someone is saying something to you, to listen to your intuition, and you can start to say, here's one of the hardest things, because we can be people pleasers as women. We're taught that we're sometimes we're supposed to be seen and not heard. One of the things that I would say is, oh, I have so many things running through my mind right now. Hold on.
Maybe top three.
Yeah, I'm seriously like just blanked out right now. Can you bring me back? I'm so sorry.
Yeah. So the top three things here that when it comes down to what someone could do, breaking down those barriers to what we should be. Quick
Right.
little, maybe three
Okay.
things that you did.
So learning to trust your gut.
Mhm.
So really listening to your internal wisdom, and when something feels off, it is. So that's number one. Really practicing speaking without being offensive, because it can be hard for women sometimes, so that you can do it and build your muscle. And you can actually just claim, like, I have a different opinion. So you're not making anyone else bad or wrong, or you right, but letting us each have our own opinions, or I have a different experience. And I think the other thing is, kind of what we were saying about coming to prayer and coming to source and knowing who you are is I did my IMs, and that's knowing thyself, like really studying who you really are and saying your IMs. And I have an IM to share that I love from Saint
Please
Germain. Okay, so I am the victorious presence of the mighty I am. I
say it
am
again.
I am the victorious presence of the mighty I am.
Mhm.
And I keep my I ams on repeat. I have a journal of just I ams, so that when you forget who you are, you can open that up and read it and just take it in. And it's going to be a muscle, it's going to be a process. So being
Yeah, you're talking
so,
about reprogramming the brain.
yeah. So
Hmm.
consistency is essential to reprogramming, and patience,
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say. Yeah.
Unlearning and relearning.
Yeah.
And a willingness to unlearn and relearn, which is half the battle.
Being a beginner again.
Hmm. Hmm. Oh my goodness. Okay. Really quickly, something I like to ask everyone who's on, any last words of wisdom when it comes to, obviously, this is called Divine Soul Journey Evolved. How have you evolved? What's been the biggest level up that's led you to your next evolution or what you're on right now? Any last words of wisdom to anyone who is just needing that oomph when it comes to their evolutionary path?
Yeah, I would say here's where self-care really plays a role, is that sometimes we have to, I don't really like this fake it till you make it, but sometimes you kind of have to. So when you take the best care of yourself and treat yourself like the person you love the most, which really should be you, that actually starts to build self-love. It
Hmm.
builds that confidence. It builds that, sometimes like that loop of the way we look affects the way we feel, the way we feel affects the way we look. So when you're constantly learning to put yourself first and to do what you need in any given moment and to honor yourself, you will learn to trust yourself. You will learn to listen. You will feel more
Hmm.
confident. So it's a
You'll
muscle,
fall in love. Yeah, you'll fall in love with yourself,
right? Because,
right? And oh,
yeah,
go ahead.
just self-care is a reflection of how you really love yourself.
100%. I'm so glad you said that. That's something that I had to grow through in the beginning as well. I didn't even feel comfortable on camera a few years ago. And being on social media really forced me to face how I looked on camera and how I took care of myself. And, maybe started having to look at how I was eating, how I was doing my hair. Was I taking care of my skin? It was like I really had to learn how to fall in love with myself. And one of the things that I loved to do, and I still do it, and I think it's very healthy. And I want to encourage anybody who's listening to this, when I'm having a good day and I'm feeling really healthy about myself and feeling, I take a sexy selfie. It's that good moment, and I encourage the course that I offer. I have a few courses, but one of the things that I offer is I have a curriculum on really embracing that dark, sexy feminine. And she teaches us how to own it. And one thing that when it comes to unshakable confidence is you have to own your goddess energy. You have to learn to fall in love with the way that you feel and the way that you look and the way that that presence is that unshakable energetic field that you truly are as a woman, right? And so I recommend doing stuff like that as well. So I love that we kind of wrapped it back up around beauty, self-care, and just owning it.
Right. That is the path to confidence.
Yes.
Being your biggest fan.
Yes. Being your biggest fan without having the shame title attached to it, or feeling like you're too into yourself, or whatever anyone else. I saw this meme online a few years ago and I thought it was so beautiful. It was like, who does she think she is? And then the response was apparently somebody who doesn't care what you think.
There
And
you
I
go.
was like, because at the time I was really learning how to not give a rat's ass about what anyone thinks. And that was something that, I think every woman gets moved through. So, anyways, I digress. But
It's okay.
yeah,
It's so fun to talk
yeah,
with you, and I'm sure your
yeah.
audience is going to love this.
Well, I'll have to have you come back on because I know there was a couple things that we didn't get the opportunity to touch on, but we are running out of time. So thank you so much. And is there anything else that any free gifts or anything like that that you wanted to mention? If so, I'll link them down below.
Awesome. Yeah, I have the 7 secrets to radiant skin and confidence building. So yeah,
Perfect.
we'll put the link for you to grab that. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Be well.
Awesome. Thanks, Lisa.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Divine Soul Journey Evolved. I'm truly grateful to share this space with you. If you'd like to dive deeper, please visit divinesouljourney.net to check out private readings, courses, mastermind workshops, and so much more. Also, just a reminder to check out the links below for any free gifts mentioned during this program that are available to you as you grow through your next level up. Until next time, keep honoring the illogical magic unfolding before you. Trust in your perfectly designed evolution, and remember that you are being divinely guided always.